discussed the challenges that were there, but the results. You're very happy that the broad-based team came out as winners in all the 7 parliamentary contests. But when it came to the county assemblies, they recorded some wins as well. That says a lot in as far as some serious contests like the Kabuchai one, which was in home area of one of the principals in the Kenya Kwanza team. Wins in Nairobi, wins in Narok, wins in Kisii, Nyamira, 3 county assembly slots. Definitely that's a loss for the broad-based arrangement, don't you think?
Yes, before I comment on that, allow me to rebut some of the raw allegations that have been brought forward by my colleagues here, and which should not go unchallenged. Mm-hmm. You know, this is a public platform. And telling Kenyans lies is not the correct things. Government is not in the business of promoting violence. That's a fact for sure. And it's common knowledge that we could have tension among those contesting independently, but that does not constitute contribution of government. If you remember when IBC summoned the 2 candidates of Kasipul Kabondo, it was several weeks far away from elections. And the violence was not instigated by government, and government cannot sponsor goons. Government has enough resources to deploy security personnel to enforce law and order. So it is wrong if you cannot carry these goons around and then you try to blame it on government. It is wrong. And I think this is where the president has given a clear directive that these militias must be dealt with. Because if that is not done, this particular group, who actually are the owners of these militias, will bring them back in 2027. And I think that is something that needs to be clean. And so it's wrong to blame government, but then the owners of dealing with it is with the government. Okay. And government has stated a position. But as to the voting, the electoral process, and many Kenyans have spoken about it, the voting was clean and seamless. Imagine identification using biometric, that was done. In every polling station, there were agents of the different candidates. The counting was done. Those who won with numbers were declared by IEBC. Okay. And you can see the mosaic nature of the outcome. It is not possible to use in Kenya anymore to use state power or extra powers to interfere with the electoral process. It doesn't work. Okay. And if indeed anybody has credible evidence and data, then you file such a petition in a competent petition and prove it in a court of law. And then like when it comes to the wins,
county assembly contests,
beginning with parliamentary.
No, we're not talking about parliamentary.
No. Allow me, I'm profiling all of them. Because you have asked a question.
I asked a question specifically about the county assembly.
I'm sure your question is not structured. I'm sure it's an essay.
We know he's a teacher. We cannot teach us about being structured.
So I'm answering.
Is it that he answers the question or we answer it?
It was about
the intro of my answer is that we swept the parliament 100% broad-based. And that was a big focus because it encompasses large constituencies and it encompasses also a county like Baringo, for example. The rest of the MCAs, if we are to bring the data here, you will be surprised that the wards at the ward level, broad-based government came in with several seats in the by-elections. Because some unreported wards, broad-based candidates even went in unopposed. They were unable to field any candidate. So you cannot sing at the top of KICC or on rooftops about winning 3 seats out of 17
3 seats.
And when you talk of Kabuchai,
even one seat that was previously held by UDA.
When you talk of Kabuchai, it went to independent. And by the way, let us respect what voters have decided. Let us respect that. That should be the fundamental rule. It doesn't matter who is elected. If a candidate is elected on DCP, is elected on DAPK, is elected on ODM, let us respect. That is the verdict of those voters. And those particular candidates who were elected were able to convince the voters individually. Yes. And let's respect that. For me, I respect what voters decide. And I'm not here for glory, for glorification.
You had made a prediction with regard to the contest in Narok, for example, the County Assembly watch, the County Assembly contest there. What is your feeling about the outcome?
I have no regrets over the outcome. The outcome, it went to a DCP candidate very narrowly, and the people of Narok town decided, and that is right. There's nothing wrong with that. There is an MCA elected by the people of that ward who will sit at the Assembly of Narok.
You cannot consider that a loss for the broad-based...
No, it's not a loss. It's not a loss, not at all. Because if we are to look at numbers, even where they won was just narrow in those wards. And it's easy for us to go do a bit of homework to shore up our numbers for the entire broad-based. So what we have here is little homework. And by the way, Fred, against the backdrop of these by-elections, the presidential election for 2027 is done and dusted. William Ruto is set to be re-elected massively with a percentage, I think that will be above 65% in 2027. If that is what you are trying to look at.
And the United Opposition have decided to look at this as a win, not necessarily as a loss, because most of the parliamentary contests, those seats were previously held by members of the UDA and ODM parties. Nothing new in that.
Right.